सुनने वालों को सिराज ज़ैदी का बहुत बहुत आदाब, नमस्कार and good afternoon. You're very welcome to the program. You're listening to Apna Radio, broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. Each Thursday, I'm here until 4 o'clock, local time in India, 7:30 until 8:30. It starts at 7:30 and it finishes at 8:30 in India. Wherever you are in the world, in Amsterdam or in Dubai or in London, wherever you're listening to me, you're most welcome to Apna Radio, broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. This is your own local radio station, broadcasting all about India, the news about India, and what's happening in that part of the world, because there's a never dull moment in that part of the world. It's a fantastic country. It's an amazing culture, and it has a lot to offer to the world. So, without further ado, I have a news item, and DSFM newsroom is here. Not the DSFM newsroom, but Apna Radio's newsroom is here. And I hope that you shall be able to listen to the Charmaine Colvin, who's here in the studio, talking about news of the week. So, Charmaine, you take it away.
Good afternoon. I'm Charmaine Colvin, and you are listening to Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM. On India this week, after numerous delays and impediments, the Navi Mumbai International Airport, NMIA, is set for inauguration soon and expected to get operational in the coming months. The airport will significantly ease congestion in India's financial capital. Arun Bansal, the CEO of Adani Airport Holdings Limited, the operating company, said. The current airport has hit its capacity of 55 million passengers annually. There's already demand for an additional 20 million, and they are set to meet that at Navi Mumbai. While numerous connectivity, integration and policy-related hurdles still need to be ironed out, the airport's opening will turn a significant new chapter in India's aviation ambitions. Spread over 1,100 hectares and located some 40 kilometres from the old commercial centre of Mumbai, the sprawling new airport is connected to the island city by India's longest sea bridge. It has 2 parallel runways and will eventually handle 90 million passengers per year, following subsequent phases of expansion. NMIA will make Mumbai the first large Indian city to operate 2 airports, a demonstration of the growing importance of India as an aviation market with rapidly increasing passenger and air traffic, said Shekhar Yusuf of Singapore-based Enadu Analytics. The sector has seen double-digit growth in the last 4 years, outpacing most other regions in the world. Indian Airlines have placed orders for some 1,900 new aircraft, 1,000 of which are expected to be delivered in the next 5 years, making such infrastructure critically important to accommodate this new fleet. Adani said NMIA will be India's first fully digital airport that's been designed and developed specifically to become a hub airport with advanced technology for check-in, security, baggage and boarding, drastically reducing turnaround times and facilitating easy transfers. It has already announced a partnership with India's largest and newest carriers, Indigo and Akasa Airlines, who are launching new routes. And Air India has committed to flying to 15 cities from the airport, gradually scaling up operations, including flights to international destinations. Despite major challenges expected ahead, for now NMIA solves the city's immediate problem, acute air traffic congestion. It will also serve as a larger catchment area, which could extend all the way to the neighbouring Pune city, a major IT and education hub. Canada has listed India's Bishnoi gang as a terrorist entity, allowing the federal government to seize property and freeze money owned by the group in the country. The federal public safety minister announced the move on Monday, saying the gang created a climate of fear and intimidation in Canadian diaspora communities. Last year, Canadian police alleged that agents of the Indian government were using Bishnoi members to carry out homicides, extortion and violent acts and target supporters of the pro-Khalistan movement. India denied the allegation at the time, saying Canada has not provided any evidence regarding them. Along with giving the government the power to freeze or seize property and money, the new designation gives law enforcement in Canada tools to prosecute terrorist offences like financing travel and recruitment. Specific communities have been targeted for terror, violence and intimidation by the Bishnoi gang, Public Safety Minister Gary Anand said in a statement. Listing this group of criminal terrorists gives us more powerful and effective tools to confront and put a stop to their crimes. Canada describes the Bishnoi gang, run by Lawrence Bishnoi, a 32-year-old gangster from India who has been behind bars for a decade, as a transnational criminal organisation that primarily operates out of India. It says the gang has a presence in Canada and is active in areas with significant diaspora communities. In India, investigators allege Bishnoi continues to control a gang with 700 members involved in extorting celebrities, smuggling drugs and weapons, and carrying out targeted assassinations. The designation by Canada comes after pressure from opposition parties and provincial premiers in Alberta and British Columbia to do so, who have said it would permit the government to push back against the gang with various sanctions. It also comes as the two countries work to restore ties that were strained by the killing of a Sikh separatist leader, 𝐻𝐪𝐷 𝐸𝐺𝐻, in a Vancouver suburb in 2023. Not long after, former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accused the Indian government of involvement in the fatal shooting. 𝐸𝐺𝐻, designated a terrorist by India in 2020, was killed by two gunmen outside a Sikh temple. 4 men are currently facing charges in the killing. India has demanded immediate action against unidentified people who vandalised a statue of independence hero Mahatma Gandhi in London. The bronze statue in Tavistock Square, unveiled to the public in 1968, was built as a tribute to Gandhi's years as a law student at University College London. This is not just vandalism, but a violent act on the idea of non-violence, the Indian High Commission said in a post on X, calling it shameful. It's not clear who is behind the graffiti. Police, who are treating the incident as racially aggravated, have made no arrests. Cleaning teams sent by the local Camden Council were on site power hosing the statue last Tuesday. The word terrorists was spray painted in black on the statue's plinth, along with Gandhi, Modi and Hindustani. The incident comes days before the 156th anniversary of Gandhi's birthday on the 2nd of October, which is also observed as the International Day of Non-Violence. The bronze statue, crafted by Polish sculptor Freda Brilliant, shows Gandhi wearing robes and sitting cross-legged. An inscription on its plinth reads, Mahatma Gandhi, 1869 to 1948. An Indian superstar turned politician is at the centre of a massive row after 40 people died in a crush at his party's rally on Saturday. Tens of thousands of people turned up at the campaign event held by Vijay in Karur district in Tamil Nadu state. The actor was in the middle of his speech when the crowd surged suddenly. The tragedy has sparked a blame game, with the opposition accusing government officials of not deploying enough police personnel to control the crowds. There have been some calls even to arrest Vijay, but given his immense popularity, the DMK-led Tamil Nadu government is treading cautiously. A one-member commission of inquiry has been set up to investigate the cause of the crush. The state's Chief Minister, M.K. Stalin, has promised action on the commission's report within 2 months. And finally, India staged a brilliant comeback after a middle-order collapse to beat Sri Lanka by 59 runs in a rain-affected opening match of the Women's World Cup in Guwahati. The hosts lost 4 wickets for 4 runs in the space of 11 balls, including 3 in the 26th over for spinner Anoko Ranawira, which saw them slip to 124-6. However, India recovered, and Sri Lanka were eventually bowled out for 211 in the 46th over. The tournament continues with defending champions Australia taking on New Zealand in Indore on Wednesday, while England start their campaign against South Africa on Friday. So that's all from me. You are listening to Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM.
Thank you very much indeed, Charmaine. What a beautiful news you have put together. And obviously today is the 2nd of October, and 2nd of October is synonymous with the, Gandhiji, Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, the He's known as the father of the nation, the Rashtrapita, as we call it. And this is a national holiday. And 2nd of October is a very important and a significant, day in the life of any citizens living abroad or in India. Because who is Gandhi? Let me talk about it in a minute. Because Gandhi is something that really is relates to the worldwide, a statue, the guy who literally responsible for getting rid of the British Empire through non-violence. And Non-Violence Day has been declared on the 2nd of October, which is today. And but what an irony that in London, some goondas and goons who are perhaps motivated by this anti-Gandhi element, and I'll talk about that openly because there is an element there at the moment in the last few years to discredit Mr. Gandhi and consider him as the father of the nation. Gandhi was born in Porbandar, which is in Gujarat, and he became the lawyer by hard work, and he then traveled to South Africa. And in South Africa, that's where the movement started, his non-violence movement, because he was, violently thrown out from a first-class train, discriminated racially. He had a ticket, a first-class train ticket, but he was thrown out from that compartment on the platform, and the train went away. That's how he actually decided that he will rise up against the British Empire. So this is something which is very, very interesting. And, our newscaster, Charmaine Colvin, grandfather actually served in the British Empire. And Charmaine tells me that he's been, her grandfather was being given a watch by Mr. Gandhi when he arrested him and put him in jail a long time ago, obviously, when he was there, So it's a bit strange connection that we do have in this program with India and with the British Empire, with Charmaine doing a news item so brilliantly every week. But Gandhi, going back to the Gandhi, he is subject for many films. Many films have been made on his life. And vis-a-vis the most popular one, which won 11 Oscars, or 12 Oscars, I'm not sure exactly. Check it out. On the Richard Attenborough, late Sir Richard Attenborough, the British brilliant film director who made a great film on Gandhi's life. It took him 20 years to make that film. And the script was with Mrs. Indira Gandhi. The government had to approve everything, but then when that everything was approved, that the super film was made, which break the back of the bank, or should I say the biggest Hollywood company at the time. What was that? Goldmeyer or something. Marion Goldmeyer. But the film became the phenomenal success worldwide. It has become the classic. I still watch it sometime. It's been shown to worldwide in classrooms, and the whole schools, youngsters go to watch that film because it's an educational film about India and about the movement of Mr. Gandhi. Mr. Gandhi was being, as I said, instrumentalist in rising up against the British Empire and leading the movement of independence, the non-violence movement of independence. Our country got independence in 1947 due to his efforts and due to his core people around him, which was made up of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose. No, sorry, not Subhash Chandra Bose, but Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Patel, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and many movement people was with him, and the group really agreed to, and Gandhiji has agreed to that group, to divide the nation in order to save the non-violence. But it did lead to violence, gruesome violence. 2 million people died, displaced 5 million people displaced in Pakistan, and India was divided, and the Pakistan was created. India got independence, 1947. And some people believe that it is because Gandhiji's actions, he should be killed. And he's the one who's responsible for the division of India. So, lo and behold, the film has the reality, and the film says that, as you can see, that he was shot point blank by no other than Nathuram Godse. Who was Nathuram Godse? He was a member of the RSS, the Rashtriya Seva Sangh, which is in power at the moment in the shape of BJP. So this is, call it a spade, who's who, what's what. They didn't like it, the fact that he was responsible for that. And he was not responsible personally, but he was a leader of the movement, a Congress leader, and he agreed to what Lord Mountbatten wanted, the last viceroy of British Empire wanted, is to divide the nation. And he said, look, that's the only way to give Muslims their own land and remain Hindus in India and Muslims in Pakistan. Majority of them would go there. However, in reality, that didn't happen, and the majority Muslims end up living in India under the constitution, which allowed everybody to live peacefully and respect each other's religion, religious sites, and all the rest of it. Those who were free to go, they were free to go, and they kept going forever. But until our recent government came into power, the whole Pakistani issue has become an obsession for the government, and therefore Nathuram Godse. There's 2 films were being made on that, and Anupam Kher acted in that film called I Didn't Kill Gandhi, Maine Gandhi Ko Nahi Mara. And that's another version of that. But there is another film made by Hansal Mehta recently called Gandhi. So there had been some attempt, and there had been some television series. Bharat Khoj was another also beautiful television series made by late Sham Benegal, in which Gandhi's character has been prominent as well. So Gandhiji has been, as I said, father of the nation, no doubt about it. In any place you go to, he was on the currency, on the notes, and he's also somebody who symbolizes the non-violent movement. So many films have been made. One film that I would like to play a song with in a minute is called Munna Bhai MBBS. And in Munna Bhai MBBS, there is a character called Gandhi, and he used the inspiration of Gandhi's principles for this leading character, which is played by Sanjay Dutt. So and there was a beautiful song that song has been actually been used, and this song has been used depicting the Gandhi's principles. And Gandhi was being, as I said, symbol. He created a really unique image for himself by boycotting the wearing of foreign clothes, and he started weaving his own clothes, cotton, khadi, the really local made khadi. And really come up with this kind of concept that I'm not going to line with myself with the British principles. When he was called to the Round Table Conference in London, he came wearing just one piece of cloth, which was made by himself, a white piece of cloth in a cold climate of London, and he was being referred as a half-naked fakir by the Churchill, who was really annoyed to see Gandhi in that attire. Amongst the people who were in three-piece suits, pin drop. In those days, people used to wear a very, very dapper bow tie and all the rest of it. But that's what Gandhi was. Gandhi was Gandhi. Those who really don't know, I think today's generation should actually watch that film, Gandhi. So anyway, Gandhi Jayanti, बहुत बहुत मुबारक सबको. Happy Gandhi Jayanti, as we call it. 2nd of October is synonymous with the Gandhijis and his as a national holiday in India. And it is something which is worth reflecting upon the principles of Gandhiji's and what he stood for. So here is a song that I'm going to play, and that sums up his personality.
माटी पुकारे तुझे देश पुकारे आजा रे अब आजा रे भूले हम राह हमें राह दिखा दे आजा रे राह दिखा दे ऐनक पहने लाठी पकड़े चलते थे वो शान से जालिम कांपे थर 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 सुनकर उनका नाम रे हो कद था उनका छोटा सा और सरपट उनकी चाल रे दुबले से पतले से थे वो चलते सीना तान के वंदे में था दम वंदे मातरम वंदे में था दम वंदे मातरम बना रे नफरत की आंधी बहती रे वहशी दिलों को बापू प्यार सिखा दे आजा रे बापू आजा रे हो झूठ का बढ़ता जाए राज ओ बापू अपने ही हो गए आज हमें अपनों से बचा ले आजा रे बापू मेरे वंदे मातरम वंदे में था दम वंदे मातरम वंदे जान ये हो गई सस्ती रे सोया ज़मीर बापू फिर से जगा दे आजा रे बापू मेरे वंदे मातरम वंदे मातरम वंदे मातरम
Vande Mein Tha Dam, Vande Mataram. What a beautiful song from the film Lage Raho Munna Bhai. And a beautiful sung by, what's his name? Beautiful singer. We have, I'm forgetting his name. The long hair guy. Sonu Nigam. Yeah, Sonu Nigam is the guy. But the principles of Gandhi should be back. That's the bottom line. And this is what people are beginning to realize, that enough is enough. people's rights have been trampled right, left, and center. The values of Gandhi's, and of course, you have heard that his statue has been violently, vandalized in London, which was a bronze statue, stood up in London very proudly, reflecting his days of in bar and bar at law that he's studied there. There is another story of another statue of Gandhi, which exists in Ireland, which was commissioned by somebody and made by a Chinese sculpturist. And last, the ambassador, Mr. Kumar, who was a fantastic individual, he was really he held a meeting, in fact, invited few people, including myself, and to discuss this opportunity to how to install this statue here in Dublin in front of our embassy, beside the flag that we hoist beside the stairs at the Indian embassy, newly refurbished Indian embassy. But somehow or the other, we ran into a technicality of installing that Gandhi's statues, and in the current environment, it was not possible to actually entertain that project. But it still exists, and I don't know where it is, who is keeping it, and all that. But it'll be worth checking it. And because he's an international figure, he's just not only, of course, what he has created is unprecedented, getting rid of the British Empire from India. And he is considered to be the most responsible person for that. Anyway, we're going to go to the next item. And the next item is an interesting item that Sharad has put together. And that is what's going on in the current climate of the India's business in terms of the arms industry. So there you go. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this piece of information by Sharad Awasthi.
So, what if I tell you that in next conflict with Pakistan, Indian pilots will be shot down by the same fighter jets that was made in India? Sounds impossible, but then it is a serious probability. Today, India is manufacturing wings for those F-16s using Lockheed Martin partnership with Tata's. We should not forget that it was the same F-16 which shot down our brave pilot Wing Commander Abhinandan Vardhaman in 2019. And currently, with renewed Trump and Pakistan friendship, there is a great possibility that the new batch of F-16s that would be delivered to Pakistan will have made in India wings, and that they will be shooting at our Indian Air Force. With that, I come to the topic of today's discussion that my dear friend Alok inspired me to research and to make a case to the rest of us Indians and let them know the ethical dimension of defense exports by India, the newfound love of this government. Since its independence in 1947, it has carried the weight of civilization, heritage, moral philosophy, importantly, and a global identity which was rooted in peace, non-alignment, and anti-colonial struggle. Unlike those empires that rose through conquest or industrial economies built on colonial extractions, India's legitimacy in world affairs has rested on a different foundation. The very idea that justice, non-violence, and self-determination can serve as true currency of international influence. So for decades, this identity remained relatively uncontested. India did not invade another country, nor did it supply arms to fuel conflicts elsewhere. Indeed, it was one of the founders of non-aligned movement which sought to keep developing countries away from the rivalries of the Cold War. Remember that? This movement was not just diplomacy, it was an ethical stance. On the other hand, while United States and the Soviet Union were amassing nuclear stockpiles and supplying weapons to their client states, India was articulating an alternative vision of a world not governed by those blocs, the NATO or Warsaw Bloc, militarism or arms race. Yet, India of 21st century seems to be drifting from that path. Today, it is encouraged by Atmanirbhar Bharat, and it's a push ambition to become a global manufacturing hub. Nothing wrong in that. But then India has now emerged as one of the top 25 defense exporters in the world. Its defense exports stands at $2.6 billion in year 2023-24, which was a meager 1,500 crores, about $200 million just about 9 years ago. And the current government has declared an ambition of $5 billion in annual defense exports in this current year. Now, these numbers may look impressive in an economic survey, but they raise fundamental questions. Can India still claim the mantle of peace-loving nation if it builds its economy and global influence on the sale of lethal weapons? Is it not walking the same path once trodden by the powers we criticized as Indians, the United States and Britain, all of which became complicit in wars far from their own borders because of their arms industry, because of the war industry? The moral dilemma becomes sharper when we recall India's own bitter experiences. For decades, we in India had opposed the United States' supply of F-16 fighter jets and military equipment to Pakistan, and India was arguing that it destabilized South Asia and tilted the balance of power. India's entire defense strategy was based on how Pakistan was getting arms from US and the other countries. India also consistently raised concerns about China's military assistance to Pakistan, including strategic military support during the recent Operation Sindoor. If New Delhi itself suffered from external powers arming our neighbors Pakistan, then by same logic, I would say, should India be supplying advanced weaponry to other states engaged in bitter territorial disputes? And for that example, Armenia, who is in conflict with Azerbaijan, or the Philippines in its confrontation with China over the South China Sea. Now, this contradiction is at the heart of my objection to the current defense export policy of India. The principle that this government and as country, we must be consistent. If arms exports to rivals harm India, arms export by us Indians can harm others. So how have we moved from Gandhi to guns? And to understand this shift, we must situate India's arms export in its broader political and economic context. Until 1990s, India's defense industry was largely state-controlled and import-dependent, and exports were negligible, just limited to very low-end equipment for surveillance or law and order to countries like Nepal, Bhutan, and Mauritius. But then came the 1990s liberalization, and that is where the economy changed, but not immediately. The real decisive shift came in 2014 onwards, particularly under the Make in India initiative. The government sought to build a domestic military industrial base to reduce dependence on imports, because India was world's second largest arms importer for decades together. And also, the government wanted to generate employment through defense production. Therefore, export promotion became a natural corollary. If India was to scale production, it had to find market abroad. And thus was born the rhetoric of India becoming major arms exporter or defense partner to other nations and eventually a global supplier, 25th largest exporter. So various policy came, but then the government in 2022 announced a milestone. Philippines signed $375 million deal for BrahMos cruise missiles, marking India's first export of much advanced offensive system. It was celebrated domestically as a diplomatic success, but it will contribute directly to the militarization of the South China Sea. India, by this step, is inserting itself into the Philippines-China conflict, and India risks antagonizing Beijing further while trying itself to overcome the disputes on our northern borders. And if at all these missiles were ever fired in anger by Philippines, India's name will be attached to the consequences. Armenia has purchased Pinaka rocket systems, Swathi radars, and artilleries from India, and it is in conflict with Azerbaijan. Now, by supplying these arms, India has placed itself squarely on one side of a volatile conflict. How? Because this supply will reverberate back to India's relation with Turkey and Pakistan, both of which back Azerbaijan. In effect, India has traded short-term profits for long-term diplomatic complications, and these complications have direct impact on the Kashmir solution. So, the same logic India once used against US arms to Pakistan, that they destabilized South Asia, now with Indian export, it applies to Armenia. Similarly, India has exported Hermes 900 UAVs drones to Israel via the Adani Elbit joint venture. Although these exports are claimed by the joint venture to be as non-combat and only for surveillance, but we do not know. There are no documents and there are no oversights to clearly establish that these equipments were not used as a lethal weapon. So with all these, what gets lost in this success narrative is the ethical and the strategic cost. India, by promoting such exports, is now contributing, embedding itself into a conflict which is nowhere near its borders. India takes an indirect responsibility for how those weapons are used. And this is not abstract moralism. It is a matter of global perception and domestic consequence. How? Just as Microsoft and Google and other tech firms face scrutiny for all their technologies being misused in conflict like Gaza, India too will face scrutiny when its weapon cause casualties in wars elsewhere. And the world today holds not just armies, but also their suppliers accountable. Therefore, the debate of India's emerging role as arms exporters cannot be fully understood without looking outwards. The world has seen time and again how nations that deepen their dependence on arms trade become hostage to what the US President Eisenhower famously called the military-industrial complex. India is walking into it. And he warned in 1961 farewell address that there is a dangerous, unwarranted influence of defense industry over national policy. 60 years later, this warning is proving to be prophetic. United States has war as business, and US is the world's largest exporter of arms, accounting for roughly 40% of global arms transfer. And then there are companies like Lockheed Martin, the manufacturer of F-16, parts of which India is making. And in fact, it was just about to sign a contract for making F-21s and newer F-16s in India, the whole aircraft. Boeing, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, and they generate billions and billions of dollars annually. And these dollars have so much of economic weight, it creates a cycle that political leaders begin to justify wars and military alliances purely to sustain the profitability of these companies. US cannot see Lockheed Martin go bankrupt. US cannot see Boeing go bankrupt. So we have witnessed the conflicts in Iraq 2003, Afghanistan right from 2001 to 2021, and of course the ongoing flow of weapons to Ukraine and Israel. They all demonstrate one thing: the dynamics of political leaders to justify war and military alliances. And each war has its own purpose. It's a marketplace for weapon testing, for procurement and replenishment. And then it also gives a very malicious phenomena of revolving door between the Pentagon and the defense corporations, where the army generals retire to become defense contractors, and lobbyists for foreign interventions that ensure there are continuous orders. So US is in a state of permanent war just because of this cycle. Same is with British BAE Systems, and they have repeatedly been accused of bribery and corruption in securing arms deal from Saudi Arabia. In fact, during the Yemen conflict, Britain continued to export weapons to Saudi Arabia despite overwhelming evidence that they are being used in bombing campaigns that killed civilians. And it took British judiciary eventually to force the government to review the contracts. But then the moral damage is done. We have seen conflict of interest by tall leaders, or let's say politicians like Dick Cheney, who had interest in oil industry while US was at war in Iraq. For that matter, Tony Blair, my favorite terrorist, who entered into lucrative consulting and advisory roles, and some of them were linked to states that purchased British weapons. Now he is talking of a transition authority in Gaza-Israel conflict. So the conflict of interest with these leaders and top politicians is natural when it comes to war industry. This is a reality of arms trade. They all become salesmen of war. But then India is at an early stage of this process. But the signs are worrying. If you had observed, there was an enthusiastic promotion of India's private defense sector by our political leaders, even during ongoing military operations like Operation Sindoor. And these signals the merging of war and commerce. This is not normal, but it clearly shows the trend and what's going on in the background when India is trying to enter into a war industry. It is just not about exports. Karma comes back. The American gun problem has a warning. The American public pays the cost in blood and treasures while the defense contractors are making profit. It's beyond the foreign wars. The United States today suffers over 360 mass shootings annually and a level of domestic violence unparalleled among developed nations. In this sense, the military-industrial complex not only fuels war abroad, but it continues to corrode peace at home also. So the question we need to ask, does India, a country with far less wealth and a very different moral history, does India want to replicate this model? Not now, but gradually in another 10 years, 15 years down the line. India still has a deeply ingrained cultural ethos of restraint, family, and non-violence. But the expansion of private defense industry for export could open up the cracks. Private security firms, insurgent groups, and criminal syndicates may one day access the very technology designed for India's military exports. Today, our children in India play in the grounds, in the parks, without fear, but soon will have to be watched by parents wielding pistols as they do in Israel. Our watchmen, chowkidars, have nothing lethal, whether it is an open neighborhood in Delhi or gated society in Mumbai. Even Indian bank branches don't have an armed security guard, except that one of them, an elderly gentleman, he would carry a symbolic World War II double-barrel rifle. But next thing will be armed security personnel manning the gates of the society with sophisticated automatic weapons. Why? Because they are easily available in the domestic market. And once that line is crossed, rolling back will be impossible. So let not India become a mini America with its ambition to become $5 billion defense exporter, and thus we are on the path to erode the moral capital. For decades, continuously, the world has admired India as land of Gandhi, a champion of non-violence, a voice of developing nations seeking peace rather than militarization. If India now becomes another arms merchant, it risks being lumped with the very forces it once criticized. And people of India are known to be peace-loving, hard-working, and globally admired for their education and enterprise. But if they are increasingly tied to war industry as workers, investors, taxpayers, innovators, then symbolically they will have blood in their hands. And that transformation would be a profound betrayal of India's ethos. India currently has an enormous comparative advantage in industries that promote peace, like pharmaceuticals, education, information technology, renewable energy, agriculture, space technology. And these sectors create jobs, they generate positive exports, and it enhances India's global image without bloodshed. So there is no need for India to choose the dangerous path of being arms merchant. But then with the dangerous development in the neighborhood, India's future does not lie in rejecting defense modernization altogether. That would be unrealistic and unsafe. Defense manufacturing and procurement should be for making our borders secure. That's it. Instead of supplying weapons, India should position itself as a mediator, peacekeeper, and conflict resolver. Switzerland has been the destination for peacemaking. How about India being the new Geneva? Why aren't our politicians and leaders thinking about those policies? I was inspired by few personal stories. So this is my German friend whom we fondly call Magnificent Mel. And she was once faced with a choice. A recruiter approached her with what seemed like a perfect job just 15 minutes away from her home. The convenience, the stability, and the balance of family life, everything was aligning. Yet, there was a catch. The company was a defense manufacturer. And what my friend did, without hesitation, she turned down the offer. Instead, she chose a life of greater sacrifice, waking in the freezing darkness of German winters, battling snowstorms, traveling an hour and a half in the train, leaving her 2 children behind. She carried that burden for years, all because her conscience would not allow her to profit from an industry that thrives on death and destruction. Her courage became contagious. And inspired by Magnificent Mel's example, given the opportunity, my wife too made a difficult choice. She declined a lucrative offer from Britain's BAE Systems, who was offering a package promising much higher than her current salary. Financially, it would have been an obvious step up, but morally, it was a step down. And like Mel, my wife too took peace over profit. So these are not grand gestures that make headlines, but then it's a quite resolute choice that shape the moral fabric of our world. Individuals can stop wars because it is the people who lend their talent and labor to this war industry. Every time someone refuses to be complicit in the manufacturing of lethal weapons, a small fracture appears in those war machines. A bullet less is made, a life less is lost. And this is the lesson that we can resist war. India must also resist. Like these 2 women, India too faces a stark choice. It can chase the illusion of power through arms exports, joining the ranks of nations whose wealth is stained with blood, or it can embrace a higher path like it did till this time, using its ingenuity and industry to promote peace, sustainability, and human welfare. If India joins the arms export race, then it may be rich in weapons but poor in peace. It may be admired for its arms but mistrusted for its motives. But if India chooses the latter, it could redefine global leadership for sake of history, its people, and humanity at large. India must resist the seduction of war industry and remain true to its timeless ethos that peace, not arms, is the highest form of strength. Thank you for your patience. With those thoughts, I leave you until next week. Stay safe, stay informed, and dutifully ask questions. Bye for now.
Dublin South FM. You wouldn't buy a car without knowing its history. So why would you buy a story without knowing who's telling it? Come here and I tell you. It's not always easy to verify what you see, read, or hear. But now there's help. Visit www.bemediasmart.ie. Stop, think, check. Be Media Smart. Brought to you by Media Literacy Ireland, supported by RTE.
93.9 Dublin South FM.
Indeed, welcome back to the programme. 93.9 is making waves and making a conscious, voices through our programme, in fact. And what a brilliantly researched programme, and what with a personal touch with your dear wife, Sharad, and of course your friend in Germany and all that. My theme for the festival this year was, peace in the world, make films not war. And why? Because obviously I'm concerned about what's happening at our doorstep here in Ireland and, of course, in Europe in general, because things are going beyond, beyond the, how do I say, out of our hands, because the Europeans are engaged in a biggest sort of like a conflict in terms of conflict with the Ukrainian conflict with Russia has been, and therefore quite rightly I actually designed my attire. My suit was made in India, in fact, but I designed it personally with the shape of the Ukrainian flag, blue and yellow. Yellow and blue was the theme of the festival, and I opened the award ceremony with a small short film of 10 minutes called Last Dance in Mariupol. Now, that is very effective, but unfortunately, with majority of the people, including the Ukrainian embassy and our old, diplomats locally, did not understood what I was trying to actually say or do, or was trying to do this with the festival by promoting peace through cinema. And promoting peace through cinema is something I'm very passionate about it. Just to give you the glance of the European Union, EU, and our 27 member states remain united and determined in our unprecedented support for Ukraine against Russia. Since the start of the war, the EU and the member states have made available close to $186 billion, not million, $1 billion in financial, military, humanitarian and refugee assistance, of which 65% have been provided as a grant or in-kind support, and 35% in the form of highly, concessional loans. So this kind of operation, which is happening at our doorstep daily. Last week, you've seen, and a few days ago, how Russians have actually attacked brutally for 12 hours with drones and missiles, trying to decimate the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. What the hell is going on? I mean, why can't we unite with the bigger powers, such as, and you've heard from Sharad that we are no saint either. We are actually fanning the fire rather than dousing the fire, is the word, which I would borrow it from my friend who visited from India this year. Now, if you are fanning the fire by arms supplying, by, manufacturing and gaining the economically lucrative business and all that, then where is your moral bones? Where are the moral bones exist in your body if you do have a conscience or not? Peace, peace, peace is the mantra, not war, war, war. War and peace has always been a dichotomy. But I am obsessed with peace, and I do, as long as I would continue to do film festival or do whatever I do, will talk about peace, not war, because it destroys, the death and destruction happen, infrastructure get destroyed. What we have built after Second World War in the last 70-odd years will be destroyed. We have seen recently in the Middle East, we are eyewitnessing now in the destruction of Palestine. The nation has been reduced to rubble. And Mr. Tony Blair, hello. Somebody has interestingly have said that how can this man be trusted for something, peace and all that? And it said, how can, Donald Trump has agreed to involve him in a so-called the future of Palestine. He said that because the Satan was not available. So this is what it is. I mean, Tony Blair, who's responsible for the attack of Iraq, the destruction of Iraq, so-called the dossier, and the weapons of mass destruction is in 45 minutes, 40 days away from Saddam Hussein, and all that lies that he blatantly and strongly he talked about it in the Parliament, in the UK Parliament. That those recordings are available. Where are the conscience of people? I mean, our memories are so short that we completely forgotten about it? No, we should not forget about it. We should actually, keep away from a monster like Tony Blair, who has been responsible for killing so many people by attacking and by provoking the Second Gulf War and all that. But anyway, so peace over that, and that's appropriate way to talk about it on the non-violence day of 2nd of October, which is the Ghandhi Jayanti day, the peace day for the world. And that is something which is very precious, because our generations, I don't want to wake up tomorrow to realize that my grandchildren will be subjected to the drones and missiles attack, that can happen. Yes, the Russians are aggressors. They are doing something. So maybe perhaps the Europeans should have developed some strong, but also you do one thing, is that don't give up. Make films, not war, is my mantra, and make peaceful films with love stories and things like that. So this is what it is. Anyway, enough for that. I have very little time left today because most of the time has been taken over by the wonderful news that we have put together. I have one song to play today, apart from the other song that I play, Bande Mein Tha Dam, but that's another beautiful song. I'm going to play Mujhe Ishq Hai Tumse, because ishq and love is the answer, no, not the war. So bye for now. Thank you for tuning me in. Thank you for listening to my program. And I really am thankful for the contributor, Sharad Awasthi in London, and Charmaine Colvin in Dublin and in Ireland. And of course, our technical team, Richard and Lee and all that. So thank you very much for listening. Bye for now. I'll be back same time, same place next week. And enjoy this song.
मुझे इश्क है तुझी से मेरी जान जिंदगानी, तेरे पास मेरा दिल है मेरे प्यार की निशानी। मुझे इश्क है तुझी से मेरी जान जिंदगानी, तेरे पास मेरा दिल है मेरे प्यार की निशानी। मुझे इश्क है तुझी से। मेरी जिंदगी में तू है, मेरे पास क्या कमी है, जिसे गम नहीं खिज़ां का वो बहार तूने दी है। मेरे हाल पर हुई है तेरी खास मेहरबानी, तेरे पास मेरा दिल है मेरे प्यार की निशानी। मुझे इश्क है तुझी से।